बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलामु अलैकुम। कैसे हैं आप? दिस इज लेक्चर नंबर 11। लेट्स स्टार्ट। So first we take a review of previous lecture. In last lecture we discussed measures of central tendency and we discussed geometric mean and then how to calculate geometric mean for ungrouped data, and then we discussed the merits and demerits of using geometric mean as a measure of central tendency. Then we discussed harmonic mean, which is also used as a measure of central tendency. So we discussed how to calculate geometric mean, harmonic mean for ungrouped data as well as for the grouped data. So then we discussed merits and demerits of using harmonic mean as a measure of central tendency. So objectives of current lecture. In today's lecture we are going to discuss empirical relationships among mean, median and mode. Remember that mean, median and mode, these are the most commonly used measures of central tendency, and there is a relationship between the three. So we will discuss that relationship, which is very important, and we can use that relationship to calculate different measures of central tendency. Suppose we are provided with mean and median, then we can use that relationship to calculate mode, or if we are provided with median and mode, then we can calculate mean, or if we are provided with mean and mode, then we can use that relationship to calculate median. So it means if any of these three measures of central tendency are given, so we can find the third one using the empirical relationship. And then we will discuss percentiles, quartiles and deciles. Actually percentiles, quartiles, deciles, they are collectively called quantiles. So sometimes we divide the data into several parts. So if we divide the data into 100 equal parts, then each part is called a percentile. So similarly, if we divide the data into 4 equal parts, then each part is called quartile, and if we divide the data into 10 equal parts, then each part is called a decile. So let's start. So the empirical relationship among the mean, median and mode. In case of symmetrical distributions, mean equals median equals mode. So if we have a symmetric distribution, then the value of mean, median and mode will be same. So remember that the bell-shaped curve or normal distribution is a symmetrical distribution. So here is the bell curve, which represents the normal distribution. So the highest probability or the peak we have here mean, at the same value we have mode, and at the same value we have the median. So this value at this point, this value of the distribution is the same, is the mean as well as the median as well as the mode. So mean, median and mode is same if the distribution is symmetric. So another example of symmetric distribution is the uniform distribution. Remember that the uniform distribution gives us equal probability or same area throughout. So we can see that this represents the same area. So here at the middle we have the mean, median and mode. So mean, median and mode, median. So mean, median, mode, they coincide when we have a symmetric distribution. So this is uniform distribution, which is an example of symmetric distribution, a special case of symmetric distribution. This is normal distribution, also called bell-shaped distribution. This is also a special case of symmetric distribution. So in case of symmetric distribution, symmetric mean equally spreaded around the middle line, mean line. This middle line is also called the mean line. So if the distribution is symmetric, then the value of mean, median and mode coincide. But when the distribution is not symmetric, if a distribution is not symmetric, then it means it is not equally spread around the middle line or mean line. So then it is called asymmetric distribution, or it is also called skewed distribution. So if it is positively skewed, so then mean is greater than median and median is greater than mode. And if it is negatively skewed, then mean is less than median and which is less than mode. So for positively skewed distribution, we can draw it here. So positive mean, right tail is longer than the left tail. So here mean will be somewhat here. Here we will have median and here mode. So mean, median and mode. Remember that this value is largest as compared to other two. So mean is greater than median, whereas median is larger than the mode. This is mode. So, but if the distribution is negatively skewed, for negatively skewed, we have left tail longer than the right tail, and here this position is the highest probability or peak. This represents mode. Here in the middle we have median, and somewhat here we will have the mean. So in this case mean is less than median, which is less than mode. So for positively skewed, median lies in between mean and mode. So mean greater than median, which is greater than mode, so it means mean is also greater than mode. So median is the least value, whereas mean is the highest value. It means mean is taking the largest value among the three. Similarly here, in case of negatively skewed, mean less than median, less than mode, so mean is taking the least value as far as these three measures of central tendency are concerned, and mode is the largest value among the three. So this is the general case. In case of symmetric, all are same. In case of asymmetric or skewed distribution, we have two cases. For positively skewed, mean is greater than median, which is greater than mode. For negatively skewed, mean is less than median, less than mode. So according to a famous statistician, Karl Pearson, in case of moderately skewed or we can say moderately asymmetrical distributions, the value of mean, median and mode have the following empirical relationship. So according to this relationship, mode is equal to 3 times median minus 2 times mean. So this is the empirical relationship between the three measures of central tendency. So if the distribution is moderately skewed, so skewed to the right or moderately skewed to the left, so, or in other words we can say that it is moderately asymmetric, so then this relationship will hold, that mode is 3 times median minus 2 times mean. So we can simplify this relationship further in order to get an alternative form. So here we have the last term minus 2 times mean, so we can write it as minus 3 mean plus 1 times mean. So minus 3 plus 1, we get again this minus 2 times mean. So just writing this minus 2 means into in this form, minus 3 mean plus 1 times mean, and then shifting this 3 mean and 3 median term to left hand side. So here we have minus sign with 3 mean. So shift it to left hand side, we get plus 3 mean, and then here we have plus 3 median. Shift it to left hand side, we get minus 3 median, and on right hand side we are left with only this mean. So shift this mode from left hand side to right hand side. So here we have plus sign, no sign with mode. If there is no sign with any expression, so it means we have plus sign. So here mode has plus sign. When it is shifted to right hand side, we will put minus sign here. So in next step, you can see that 3 is occurring in each of these two terms. So we can take 3 common. So 3 is taken as common. So we are left with mean minus median. And on right hand side, we have mean minus mode as it is. Now shift this mode to left hand side. It is with minus sign. When it is shifted to left hand side, we get plus sign, and shift this full expression to right hand side. So here we have plus sign. When it is shifted to right hand side, we get minus sign. So this is an alternative formula, which is actually mathematically same as this original relationship. So we can use this formula or this alternative form. So simplifying it further, from this relationship we can derive mean minus mode equals 3 times median. Actually, just from this step, write this expression. So mean minus mode here and 3 times mean minus median. So we get an alternative expression. So similarly, we can also write it from this side, that just shift this 3 to this left hand side. So from this we can see that 3 is being multiplied with mean minus median. So when it is shifted from this side to left hand side, so mean minus mode will be divided by this number 3, or from here we can write 1 by 3 times mean minus mode. So on right hand side we are left with only mean minus mode median. So just shift this 3 to left hand side, we get 1 by 3, or just writing this thing in reverse form. So mean minus median is equal to 1 by 3 times mean minus mode. So these are the 3 forms of the same relationship, or we can say that from this actual relationship, actual main equation, we have derived the 2 alternative versions. So these alternative versions are usually used in order to solve different types of questions. So mathematically, all the 3 versions, they lead to same result, or they are the same. So let us consider an example. So given the median 20.6 and the mode 26, so question is calculate or find the mean. So we have the empirical relationship that mode is equal to 3 times median minus 2 times mean. So here we can write it as just shift this minus 2 times mean to left hand side. So it will be plus 2 times mean, and on right hand side we are left with 3 median, and then shift this mode from left hand side to right hand side. So put a minus sign. So 3 median minus mode, this is equal to 2 times mean. But since we have to calculate only mean, so shift this 2 which is being multiplied with mean to right hand side. So it means this right hand side will be multiplied with 1 over 2. So now once we have this relationship, so note that this is derived from the main empirical relationship. So once we have this relationship, just replace the values of median and mode. So median is 20.6, so just replace by its value, and then mode is 26, so replace mode by its value. So 3 into 20.6 we get 61.8 minus 26 as it is. So 61.8 minus 26 we get 35.8, divided by 2 we get 17.9. So we can see that by using this relationship we can calculate arithmetic mean if the information about the median and mode is provided. So this formula, the empirical relationship, is very useful in calculating the third measure of central tendency when any other two measures are given. So let us consider another example. So in a moderately skewed distribution, if the value of the mean is 5 and the median is 6, determine the value of mode. So here, given that mean is 5 and median is 6, so in order to calculate mode, we can directly use the main empirical relationship. So mode is 3 times median minus 2 times mean. So median is given as 6, so 3 times 6, and mean is 5, so 2 times 5. 3, 6, 18, 2, 5, 10, 18 minus 10 we get 8. So mode is 8. So in this case, mean and median are given, and we calculated mode by using this empirical relationship. So now question arises that does the relation, this relation that mode is 3 times median minus 2 times mean, always hold, or whether there are certain situations in which this relationship it does not hold. So let us explain it with the help of one simple example. So consider this data 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9. So we have 7 observations, all are in sorted form. So from this, in order to calculate mean, so just add all the observations. So it is 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 9. So we get 28, which is sum of all these 7 observations divided by the number of observations. So currently we have 7 observations, so 28 divided by 7, so it means mean is calculated to be 4. Now median, in order to calculate median, arrange the data. This data is already in arranged form. Then since we have 7 observations, so middle observation is 3 is our median. 50% of observations before 3 and 50% of the observations lie after 3. So 3 is the median. And for finding mode, the most frequent value, so 2 is occurring 2 times, which is occurring more than any other number. So it means mode is 2. So I have calculated these 3 numbers, mean, median, mode, 3 measures of central tendency for this data. So now the relationship is mode is equal to 3 times median minus 2 times mean. So let us calculate the right hand side. So on right hand side we have 3 times median minus 2 times mean. So right hand side is 3 median minus 2 means. So just replace the value of median and mean. So 3 times median, which is 3 times 3, minus 2 times mean, mean is 4, so 2 times 4. So 3, 3 the 9, minus 2, 4, 8. So it means 9 minus 8, we get 1. So according to this formula, mode is what? It is 1. But actually, according to our main calculation, mode should be 2. So this 1 is different from 2. So it means by using this formula, the calculated value of mode is wrong. So which is not matching with the actual mode which is obtained from this data. So now the question arises, does the relation mean minus 3 times median minus 2 times mean always hold? So no, in this case this relationship does not hold. So now question arises, what is the main reason? So there are two main reasons for this wrong result, or we can say that there are two main reasons in which that why this formula does not hold in this particular example. So firstly, this formula is an approximate, it is not an exact formula. So therefore real results may differ from the results obtained using this formula, and this is what happened in our case, that according to formula the mode should be 1, but according to real data the mode is 2. So where 1 and 2 both are giving us different value of mode. So one reason is that the formula is only an approximate, it is not an exact relationship. So the real results, they may differ from the results which are obtained using this formula. The second reason is that this formula is valid only for moderately skewed distributions, in which the peak is only slightly oriented towards the right or towards left. So if the peak is slightly oriented towards right or left, so we have actually two types of distribution, the right skewed or the left skewed. So right skewed distribution mean right tail is longer than the left tail. So if we have some distribution like this, or if we have some distribution like this, so remember that both distributions here, left tail is comparatively longer than the right tail, and here we have the right tail comparatively longer than the left tail. So this is the right skewed distribution and the left skewed distributions. But if we have very long right tail or very long left tail, then these distributions will be not moderately right or left skewed distributions. So this formula is valid only when we have moderately skewed distribution, either skewed towards right or skewed towards left. So if the distribution is highly skewed, just like in this case it is right skewed distributions or skewness is very high, so this formula is not valid. So this is the case here, this distribution is not symmetric and it is skewed and it is highly skewed. So if the distribution is not moderately skewed, so this is not the moderately skewed distributions, so this formula will not hold. So now we discuss the concept of percentiles. So percentile provides information about how the data are spreaded over the interval from the smallest value to the largest value. So usually it is desired to divide the data into certain parts. So if we divide the data into 100 equal parts, then each part is called one percentile. So now the pth percentile is a value such that at least p% of the observations are less than or equal to this value. So and at least 100 minus p% of the observations are greater than or equal to this value. So suppose we have certain data point, so if we are interested in 10th percentile, so 10th percentile. So 10th percentile, and here is the data. So 10th percentile is the value such that at least 10% of the observations are less than or equal to this value. So these observations must be 10% and at least 100 minus p, so 100 minus 10, it means 90% of the observations are greater than or equal to this value. So above this value there should be 90% of the observations. So here we have 10% of the observations. So similarly we can define 20th percentile as the value below which 20% of the data lie and above which 80% the remaining data, which is 80%, it should lie. And similarly the 50th percentile means that below which 50% of the data lies and above which 50%, the remaining 50% of the data lies. So but the same is the definition of the median. Median is the value below which 50% of the observations lie and above which the remaining 50% of the observations lie. So we can say that median is the same as the 50th percentile. So 50th percentile is same as median. So question is, what is the importance of percentiles? So usually colleges and universities, they frequently report admission test scores in terms of percentiles. For example, suppose an applicant obtains a raw score of 54 on verbal portion of an admission test. The score obtained by an applicant is 54 in a verbal exam. So how this student performed in relation to other students taking the same test, this may not be readily apparent. So however, if the raw score of 54 corresponds to the 70th percentile, so we know that approximately 70% of the students scored lower than this individual and approximately 30% of the students, they scored higher than this individuals. So using percentile rank we can get a clear picture of the performance of that particular applicant. So now we discuss method of calculating percentile for ungrouped data as well as for the grouped data. So first we discuss how we can calculate percentiles for ungrouped data. So remember that the procedure is around the same as calculating the median in case of ungrouped data, but we have to modify the formula accordingly. So in first step, arrange the data in either ascending or descending order. Usually data is arranged in ascending order. So arrange the data in ascending order, that is smallest value to the largest value. And then in the next step, compute an index I, which is p over 100 times n, where p is the percentile of interest, the required percentile, and n is the total number of observations in the data. Suppose we are interested in calculating the 10th percentile, then p will be replaced by 10. So calculate this index. So then if I, this index value of index, is not an integer, then round up, and the next integer greater than I denotes the position of the pth percentile. But if I is an integer, then pth percentile is the average of the values in the position I and I plus 1. So let us consider an example in order to explain it. Suppose we have data on monthly starting salaries for a sample of 12 business school graduates. So here in the first column we have the serial number, graduate 1, 2, 3 up to 6 and 7, 8, 9 up to 12. And in the next column we have their monthly starting salary in dollar. So first student, he is getting $3450 salary. So $3,450. And similarly second, 3,550, and last one is getting $3,480. So question is, calculate 85th percentile and the median. And remember that median is what? It is the 50th percentile. So since this data is not in grouped form, so we will use the ungrouped ungrouped formula to calculate percentile. So first we provide the solution to problem of finding 85th percentile. So first step is arrange the data in ascending order. So here is the arranged data which is arranged from low value to the high value. So next, compute the index I. So remember that this index I is P over 100 times N. Now P is the required percentile, N is the total number of observations. In this case, since we are interested in finding the 85th percentile, so just replace this P by 85 divided by 100 times N, where N is 12. So if you simplify this expression, so 85 over 100 is 0.85 multiplied with 12, we get 10.2. So this is the index value, I is 10.2. Now because I is not an integer, so round it up. So and the next integer, which is 11, will give us the position of 85th percentile. So next integer greater than 10.2 is 11, so it means the position of 85th percentile is the 11th position. So here we have 12 numbers, so here is the number at 11th position. So returning to the data, we see that 85th percentile is the data value in the 11th position, or this value 3730. So 3730 is 85th percentile. So similarly we can calculate the 50th percentile, which is the median. So data is already in a range form from lower value to higher value. Now calculate this index, which is P over 100 times N. So now this P is the required percentile, which is 50 in our case. So 50 over 100 times 12. So 50 over 100, it is 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 or 0.5 times 12. So the result is 6. So it means the value of index is 6. So now in this case, I is 6, which is an integer. So 50th percentile is the average of the values in position I and in position I plus 1, that is position 6 and 6 plus 1, that is the position number 6 and 7. So from this data, at position 6 we have number, this is position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At 6 we have this number, and at position 7 we have the second number, so 3490 and 3520. So this 50th percentile or median is the average of these two numbers. So hence the 50th percentile is same as median. This is average of these two numbers. So just add these two numbers and divide the sum by 2. So we get 3505. So this is the median or 50th percentile. Similarly, we can calculate any percentile value by using the same procedure. So this is how to calculate percentiles for the ungrouped data. Next we discuss quartiles. It is often desirable to divide the data into 4 parts, with each part containing approximately 1/4 or 25% of the observations. The division points are referred to as quartiles, and they are defined as Q1, which is used to denote first quartile, or it is also called 25th percentile. Q2, which is second quartile or the 50th percentile, and which is also the median. Q3 is the third quartile or 75th percentile. So it means the Q1, which is first quartile or 25th percentile, is the point below which 25% of the data lie and above which 75% of the data lie. So here is the Q1, the first quartile. So below this point we have 25% of the data, and above this point we have the remaining 75% of the data. So here is the point Q2. So below Q2 we have 50% of the data, and above Q2 we have same 50% of the data. So this is also 50%. So this Q2 is also the 50th percentile. And here we have the third quartile. So it means below this third quartile, since this is 75th percentile, so below this we have 75% of the data, and above this point we have remaining 25% of the data. So you can see that I have subdivided this data by using these 3 points Q1, Q2, Q3, and note that from the minimum value to this Q1 we have 25%, from Q1 to Q2 another 25%, Q2 to Q3 the next 25%, and Q3 to maximum value 25%. So the full data is subdivided into 4 equal parts. Q1 the first 25%, Q2 the second 25%, and overall 50, 25 this one, and this one total 50, and so on. So note that the quartiles, they are just specific percentiles. So thus the steps for computing percentiles can be applied directly in the computation of quartiles. So we can use the same steps, we can use the same procedure which we have used in order to calculate percentiles. We can get quartiles as well. So procedure is same for calculating quartiles as that of percentiles. So let us calculate quartiles for the ungrouped data. So the first step is arrange the data in ascending order. In second step, compute an index I such that for first quartile the index will be 25 over 100 times n. Remember that the original formula was p over 100 times n, but since first quartile represents the 25th percentile, so it means we can replace p by 25 in this formula. So similarly the second quartile, the index I will be 50 divided by 100 times n, and for third quartile the index will be 75 over 100 times n, where n is the total number of observations in the data. And next we will observe whether I is an integer or it is not an integer. If I is an integer, then round it up, and the next integer greater than I will denote the position of the pth percentile or quartile Q1, Q2, Q3. And if I is an integer, then pth percentile in case of Q1 this will be 25th percentile is same as Q1, 50th percentile is same as Q2, and 75th percentile is same as Q3. So if I is an integer, then the required percentile or required quartile will be the average of the values at position I and I plus 1. So again, let us consider the same data, and we are going to illustrate the calculations of quartiles using the same monthly starting salary data. This is the data of monthly starting salary of 12 graduates. So for Q1, compute the index I, which is P over 100 times N, and for Q1 we know that it is 25th percentile, so 25 over 100 times 12 we get 3. So it means I is 3, so because I is equal to 3 is an integer, so 25th percentile is the average of the values at position 3 and 3 plus 1, that is 4. So average of the values at position number 3 and 4. So at position number 3 the number is 3450, this one, and at position number 4 we have 3480. So Q1 equals 25th percentile, so just add these two numbers, divide by 2, you will get the required number. So Q1 is 3465. Similarly, we can calculate Q3, which is 75 over 100 times 12, so it is 9. Again 9 is an integer, so 75th percentile or Q3, it will be it is the average of the values at position number 9 and 9 plus 1, that is 10. At position number 9 we have 3550, at position number 10 we have 3650. So just add these two numbers, divide the sum by 2, we get 3600. So Q3 or 75th percentile is 3600. And note that Q2, which is also the median, has already been calculated for the same data set, and it is 3505. So we have these three numbers, Q1, Q2 and Q3. So note that the quartiles, they divide the data, starting salary data, into 4 parts, with each part containing 25% of the observations. So here is the 3465, which is occurring between this third value and the fourth value. So this is the position of Q1. Similarly, Q2 or median or 50th percentile, it is 3505. So this value is occurring between 3490 and 3520. Similarly, Q3 is 3600, which is occurring between 3550 and 3650. So we can see that this full data is divided into 4 parts. This first part containing first 25% of the observation, then second part the remaining 25, the next 25 third part, and the last 25% of the observations in the fourth part. So this is how these quartiles they are used to divide data into 4 equal parts. So next we discuss the concept of deciles. It is often desirable to divide the data into 10 parts instead of 4. So with each part containing approximately 1/10 or 10% of the observations. So instead of dividing the data into 4 parts, in some cases it is required to divide the data into 10 parts. So the division points are referred to as deciles, which are denoted by D1, D2, so on, D9, and defined as D1 is the first decile, or it is also called 10th percentile. Similarly, D2 is the second decile or 20th percentile, D3 third decile, 30th percentile, D4 fourth decile, 40th percentile, and D5 is the fifth decile, 50th percentile, or the median. D6 is the 6th decile or 60th percentile. Similarly, D9 is the 9th decile and or 90th percentile. Note that deciles, like quartiles, are just specific percentiles. So thus the steps for computing percentiles, they can be applied directly in the computation of deciles. So we can use the same method in order to calculate deciles. So deciles for ungrouped data. So again, arrange the data from smallest to largest and then compute and index I. So in this case, for first decile D1, compute I is equal to 10 over 100, so times n. So 10 over 100 times n, or we can write it as 1 over 10 times n. Similarly, for second decile, I is 20 over 100 times n, or 2 over 10 times n, and so on. For ninth decile, the I will be 90 over 100 times n, or 9 over 10 times n, where n is the total number of observations. So again, if I is not an integer, then round up. The next integer greater than I will denote the position of the corresponding decile, and if it is an integer, then corresponding decile is the average of the values at position number I and I plus 1. Now let us discuss the method of calculating percentiles for grouped data. We already know the formula for calculating median in case of grouped data. Median equals L plus H over F into n by 2 minus C, where L is the lower class boundary of the median class, F is the frequency of the median class, n is equal to summation F, which represents the total frequency, and C is the cumulative frequency preceding the median class, where H is the width of class interval. So replacing n by 2 with p over 100 times n in this formula. So here, if we replace this n by 2 with p over 100 times n, where p is the required percentile, so we can get the formula for the pth percentile for grouped data. Why? Because note that here p over 100 times n, so if we replace p by 50 in order to get 50th percentile, or in order to get median, because median is same as 50th percentile. So in order to calculate median, this p is 50 or 50th percentile. So simplifying it, we get what? It is 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 times n, or in case of median, this is written as n by 2. So that's why we have used this n by 2 here in this formula while calculating median previously. But in order to calculate percentiles, we will replace this n by 2 with this original expression p over 100 times n. So where p is the required percentile. So replacing this n by 2 with p over 100 times n, so note that this p over 100 times n can also be written as p n over 100. So this is how this n by 2 is replaced by p n over 100. So this is the formula for calculating pth percentile for the grouped data. So rest of the procedure is same as that of calculating median. So let us explain this idea with the help of one simple example. So let us discuss the example. So calculate 10th percentile or P10 for the distribution of examination marks which is provided below. So here we have marks and the number of students. So from this distribution we can see that there are 8 students who obtained marks from 30 to 39. Similarly, there are 87 students who obtained marks from 40 to 49. Remember that this is the same data set which we have used while calculating median for the grouped data. So now we are using the same data set in order to calculate the 10th percentile. So first calculate class boundaries, because in the formula of percentile we have the L, where L represents the lower class boundary. So remember that the class boundaries are usually constructed by taking the difference of lower limit of second class and the upper limit of first class. So that is 40 minus 39, which is 1, and then divide this result by 2. So 1 divided by 2 we get 0.5. So subtract 0.5 from each of the lower class limits and add 0.5 to each of the upper class limits. So subtracting 0.5 from 30 we get 29.5, and adding 0.5 to 39 we get 39.5. And similarly, repeating this procedure, we can get class boundaries for all the classes. So subtracting 0.5 from 40 we get 39.5, and adding 0.5 to 49 we get 49.5, and so on. So once we have the class boundaries, so next step is to find the cumulative frequencies. So in order to calculate cumulative frequency, construct a new column. So here is the new column CF for cumulative frequency. So write first frequency as it is. So 8 here, write it as it is. Next add this 87 to this 8. So 87 plus 8. So if you add this 87 to 8 we get 95. So then add 190 to 95. So 190 plus 95, and repeat the same procedure in order to get cumulative frequencies. So here is the cumulative frequencies. So 8 plus 87 we get 95, 95 plus 190 we get 285, 285 plus 304 we get 589, and so on. So once we have the formula, so pth percentile is L plus H over F, P n over 100 minus C. So note that this L is the lower class boundary of the pth percentile class. In the current case, in this current example, we are interested in finding the 10th percentile. So it means in order to calculate 10th percentile, we have to just replace this P with 10. So this formula will be simplified to L plus H over F 10 n over 100. So if you simplify this formula, so let me write it in the same form, minus C. So it means we need to calculate L, H, F, C, and this n is equal to summation F, the total frequency. So first we need to calculate the 10th percentile class. So find 10th percentile class. So 10th percentile is equal to marks obtained by 10 over 100 times nth student. So 10 over 100 is 1 over 10 times n. So 10 over 100 is what? It is 1 over 10 times nth student. So 1 over 10 times nth, 1 over 10 times n. So n is the total frequency. So if we add all the entries in this frequency column, 8 plus 87 plus 190, we get summation f or n, which is 905. So 905 divided by this 10, you will get 90.5th student. So this is the position of the 10th percentile. Now we have to locate 90.5 in the cumulative frequency column. So here in this cumulative frequency column, locate where 90.5 is occurring. So as far as this first frequency is concerned, it is 8, which is less than 90.5. So it means 90.5 is not occurring in this class, and it is occurring, it may occur in any of the higher classes. Look at the second cumulative frequency. It is 95. So 95 mean this 90.5 is it is covering this 90.5, or 90.5 is occurring within this range. So we can say that this full class is our 10th percentile class. So this is our 10th percentile class, and in this case it is 10th percentile class instead of median class. So in next step, find L, H, F and C. Remember that H is the size or width of class interval, so which can be obtained by taking the difference of any two consecutive lower limits, or any two difference of any two consecutive lower limits or any two consecutive upper limits. So 49 minus 39, we get 10, or 49.5 minus 39.5, we get 10. So H is 10. So we need to calculate L. The definition of L is that it is lower class boundary of the 10th percentile class. So lower class boundary is 39.5. So L is 39.5. F is the frequency of the 10th percentile class. So 87 is the frequency. So F is 87, and the definition of C is cumulative frequency preceding the 10th percentile class. So this is 10th percentile class, so preceding mean before that. So the cumulative frequency column, the 8 is our C. So C is equal to 8. So now in this formula we have all the entries in hand, so just replace them by their appropriate value. So L is 39.5, H is 10, F is 87, 10 times N. So 10 times N, N is total frequency, which is 905, sum of frequencies. So just write here N is summation F, which is 905. Divided by 100 minus C, C is 8. So just calculating, we get 48.98, or approximately 49 marks. So 10th percentile, or P10, is 49 marks. So this is how to calculate percentiles for the grouped data. So instead of calculating 10th percentile, if we want to calculate 20th percentile, 30th, 40th, 35th or any other percentile, we can use the same procedure. So now quartiles for grouped data. So for quartile, we know that Q1 is the same as 25th percentile, so it is L plus H over F and into 25N divided by 100 minus C. Q2 is the second quartile, which is same as 50th percentile, which is L plus H over F times 50N over 100 minus C. or this is also called the median. Q3 is 75th percentile L plus H over F into 75 times N divided by 100 minus C, where the definition of L is same lower class boundary of the quartile class. In case of Q1 it will be Q1 class, in case of Q2 it will be the lower class boundary of second quartile, Q2 class or second quartile class. So similarly here corresponding quartile class. So rest of the procedure is same as that of calculating percentile. So you can use the same data set which I have used in order to calculate 10th percentile, and you can calculate 25th percentile, which is Q1, and calculate Q2 and calculate Q3 on your own. Similarly, we can calculate deciles as well. D1 is same as 10th percentile. So it is 10 times N over 100. For D2, which is this is actually D5. D5 is same as 50th percentile, or we have to replace this by 50 times N over 100, which is same as median, and D9 is the 90th percentile. And here we will have the corresponding decile class. So again here corresponding deciles class instead of median class. So rest of the procedure is the same as that of calculating percentiles. So actually deciles and quartiles, they are the specific quartiles. So once you know the procedure for calculating percentiles, you can calculate deciles and quartiles as well. So one last note is that quartiles, deciles, percentiles, they are usually used to divide the data into specific parts. So quartiles divides the data into 4 parts, deciles into 10 equal parts, percentile divides the data into 100 equal parts. So they are usually called quantiles. So quantiles mean if the data is divided into 4 equal parts, then the quantile has a special name which is quartile, and if the data is divided into 10 equal parts, then the quantile has a special name which is the decile, and if the data is divided into 100 equal parts, then the quantile has a special name which is percentile. So let us review the main concepts which we have discussed in today's lecture. So in today's session we have discussed the empirical relationship among mean, median and mode. Remember that these are the 3 key measures of central tendency which are usually used: the mean, median and mode. So there is one important point which we have discussed, that the empirical relationship it holds only for the moderately skewed distribution, and if the distribution is not moderately skewed, then this relationship does not hold. Then we discussed the concept of percentiles, quartiles, deciles, and how to calculate percentiles, deciles and quartiles in case of ungrouped data as well as in case of grouped data. So in next lecture we will study how we can use Microsoft Excel software package to calculate all the measures of central tendency, that is mean, median, mode, geometric mean and harmonic mean. And we will also discuss how we can use Microsoft Excel to calculate percentiles and quartiles. So till then, Allah Hafiz.